Hello, welcome to Betfred's football show. Paul Robinson is alongside me. Let's just quickly reflect on last weekend, Paul. Two huge derbies. Arsenal coming up on top in North London. Man City well on top in Manchester. Arsenal are first, Man City are second. Where are those two teams going to finish come end of the season?
It certainly won't be in that order, in my opinion. Although Arsenal have been fantastic. I was at the Emirates at the weekend, much to my disappointment. Spurs were too defensive for me. Arsenal were exceptional. I've been impressed with them this year, really impressed. I'm impressed with the signings, what he's made. And I think there's a couple of people that have got them second title favourites now. The thing for them is sustainability. They've had a great start. There was question marks. Look, they've not played anybody. No disrespect. They've beaten Brentford, Bournemouth, the likes of. They played Tottenham and they turn it on again. They prove that they can do that. They got beaten at Old Trafford, but they got beaten in a certain way where they played well. Man City, for me, are streets ahead of everyone, just performance-wise. I mean, everyone's talking about Haaland. You forget about the other 10 or 12 that can do damage as well. They've got a fantastic squad. I think he's going to focus a lot on the Champions League this year, because that's the holy grail for him. It always has been. But they look so good, so good. I mean, Haaland's frightening. His numbers now, all the stuff going around on social media, all the little graphics of how many he's scored by the age of 22, the amount of hat-tricks he's got. He'd have had another hat-trick the other night if Pep hadn't taken him off at half-time, because he'd had two at half-time. The penalty that Mahrez took, Haaland would have taken that. That would have been another one. I mean, he's a monster, isn't he? He's an absolute goal-scoring monster.
I think he's going to break every record going. But Arsenal are involved in the biggest game of the weekend. Matt Humes is here to talk us through the action.
Another fantastic weekend in the Premier League awaits. 10 games, 3 points, a must for many, even at this early stage. So where we are then. Bournemouth taking on Leicester. Bournemouth's only defeats this season come to Arsenal, Liverpool and Manchester City. Massive win for Leicester last Monday night. Can they take that into this game? They are 11-10 to win that one. Chelsea 4-11, a great performance in midweek against Milan. They take on managerless Wolves, who are 15-2 to go and win at Stamford Bridge. Pray for Southampton, 1-8 Manchester City to win this one. Got a bad record, Southampton, against the Citizens, but Ralph Hasenhüttl, of course, under pressure, and that man, Erling Haaland, will be baying for blood once more. And no doubt people will be piling in for him to be a hat-trick hero once again. Newcastle shade of odds on at 4-5, taking on Brentford. I fancy that one for goals galore at St James's Park. And Spurs favourites to beat Brighton. I think Brighton are a decent price here at 13-8 with the home advantage, and Roberto De Zerbi as well settled in really well with that 3-3 draw at Anfield. Just one defeat for Brighton this season. And Spurs, okay, 0-0 in midweek wasn't a bad result in Germany. Very disappointing the derby though. I think Brighton are the value there. At Selhurst Park, Crystal Palace taking on Leeds. Good game. That one 11-10 Palace to win, and the Leeds 11-5. Then a London derby. West Ham taking on Fulham. A big win for West Ham in Belgium against Anderlecht in midweek. And they are a shade of odds on 8-11 to get the better of Fulham in London. Right, Arsenal taking on Liverpool. That is the big one, of course. Look, a pick'em game. 6-4, each and 2. We can't decide. Can you? Who'll be winning that big battle at the Emirates. And then a rare Sunday night game in the Premier League, moved from Saturday lunchtime because of Manchester United's European commitments, and they are slight odds on at 10-11 to get the better of Everton, who have got a really good recent record against United as well. They lost 2 of the last 8 against the Red Devils. And then Forest, it's Monday night again. Forest are in action once more. They took an Aston Villa in another Midlands derby. We make Steven Gerrard's men 6-5 favourites for this one. Forest need points urgently. They've been beaten at home twice by 2 fellow promoted clubs in Bournemouth and Fulham, and they were dispatched against Leicester, who were struggling last week. I think the writing's already on the wall for Forest. 2-1 though. They have to get 3 points on Monday night. There we are. 10 fantastic games. Once again, it has to be the Premier League.
Cracking weekend of action, but Paul, the highlight has got to be this game, hasn't it? Arsenal versus Liverpool. Really looking forward to this. Arsenal have only won one of the last 14 Premier League matches against Liverpool, so not a great record. But Arsenal at home now have won their last 7 Premier League games.
They're a force to be reckoned with, they really are. I think they're ahead of where even the manager would have hoped that they'd been. They're a club that have been in transition for so long, since Arsene Wenger, since the end of his reign. A couple of managers, players that have been coming in and out. They've allowed Arteta to make his own changes. He's made big decisions there, and they've allowed him to make his own decisions. They've given him time, and given a manager time, it allows him to develop his own style. They've put trust in him, and it's paying dividends. I mean, the way that they played against Spurs at the weekend, they played the same way as they have been doing all season. Spurs played far too defensive. Arsenal attacked them. They looked the better team. The thing for me with Arsenal, it's keeping players fit, it's keeping Jesus fit, Zinchenko fit, and it's sustainability if they can do it over a season.
Jesus has been involved in 6 goals in his 8 Premier League games against Liverpool. Of course, that's his Man City days. So 4 goals and 2 assists for Gabriel Jesus. Let's just talk about Firmino. He's got a really good record against Arsenal. He's scored more Premier League goals against Arsenal than anyone else. That is 9. Right. Will Firmino start? That's the interesting thing for Liverpool. Where are Liverpool at? Just drawing twice and losing once in their 3 away games. That is not Liverpool form, is it?
We've not seen Liverpool at all this year, I don't think. I think there's too many players that are underperforming. The defence is getting found out in a way that they're playing a higher line, which we've talked about before. And he just hasn't found that formula. The front 3 hasn't worked. I mean, last time out he played Salah, Firmino and Galore on the left-hand side, and he left Diaz and Jota on the bench and Núñez on the bench.
And then he changed it again midweek.
And then he changed it again midweek against Rangers, which he got the win. And in all fairness, listen, they won. Rangers were still in that game. Previously, if Sadio Mane was there, I think that's a game that Liverpool go on and win 4 or 5-0. It's not a Liverpool team polish that we've been known to see.
Is that the difference then? I mean, obviously they've had injuries.
Yeah.
Is Mane that big a difference? Why they are currently 9th and not challenging?
Yeah, they're 9th at the moment. They're nowhere near challenging, and they're nowhere near where they were. We've not seen a team have such a big drop-off for a long time. I think Mane's a big part of that. I think he dominated the defence, left-hand side of the field. I think defensively they've been found out. Firmino's not scoring his goals. Fabinho is not protecting the back 4. Thiago's not been the same player. Henderson and Milner, you're asking a lot of them. Van Dijk, we talked a lot in the press. He's not had a regular partner, but they've not been stable. I think the goalkeeper's been excellent this year. The one shining light for me this year, Alisson's been brilliant, because as poor as Liverpool have been, we've got to see how good their goalkeeper actually is.
Yeah, because Van Dijk looked untouchable, didn't he?
Van Dijk looked untouchable. Yeah. Listen, everyone has a dip in form. It's how you come back from that. He's not a bad player overnight. Liverpool aren't a bad team overnight. But because they've been where they are, they played every single game possible last year. So as soon as they drop off, people are going to go, what's going on? Why aren't they playing? Why aren't they performing? There's too many players that aren't playing well. The team's not playing well, and the manager hasn't got a formula. Their style is to press from the front. So they attack teams from the front. They haven't done that. They look to be getting picked off too easily, which is strange for me, because last week, you say he played Salah, Firmino and Carvalho, the 2 hardest workers and press from the front, Diaz and Jota, he left on the bench. For me, those 2 have to play. Diaz has to play. I think Diaz is Liverpool's best player at the moment.
Come on then, prediction time for this huge game on Sunday afternoon.
I mean, Liverpool are struggling, and it's not a good place for them to go. I mean, as I say, I was there last weekend, saw Arsenal, saw how strong they were. I think they'll win. I think Arsenal will win this game, and I think they'll be favourites, and rightly so, because of the form that the teams are in. It's hard to not say Liverpool will score. I think the banker is that both teams will score and a home win. So I'm going for an Arsenal win and both teams to score. I've got 2-1 written down here, Mark.
2-1. I'm going to write this down because we'll recap all these at the end of the show. So 2-1 Arsenal is a prediction for Paul. Let's move on to the live game on Saturday lunchtime. Bournemouth versus Leicester. Now, Leicester obviously had that huge win on Monday night, 4-0. James Maddison getting 2. James Maddison scored 5 goals this season, been directly involved in 19 goals in the last 24 games. That's 12 goals and 7 assists, in case Gareth Southgate is watching. And he scored 2 on Monday night. Right, how do you see Bournemouth-Leicester?
Well, you said about Leicester's stats there. There's only 5 teams in the Premier League that have scored more goals than Leicester, and they're in that precarious position where they were before this. So going forward, they've not got a problem. So your bet at the moment is Leicester to score goals, because they're the 6th highest scoring team in the Premier League. And with Maddison, with his creativity, with his goals, they look a sure bet to score. Bournemouth, 4-game unbeaten run. Gary O'Neill's unbeaten since he's taken over as manager. He's looking to stake a claim to become manager. They've never lost to Leicester at the Vitality Stadium. So there's a stat for you. In the top flight, Bournemouth have never lost to Leicester, and this is their 100th Premier League game at home. So we'll see. I think Leicester might be too strong for them. I think they've had too many troubles for too long. Leicester have got a strong team, a strong squad. I think that Forest game might have just kicked Leicester into gear as to where they want to be.
Go on then, prediction.
I think both teams will score again, because Bournemouth are good at home, and as I say, they've never lost at home in the top flight to Leicester. I'm going to go both teams to score, Leicester to win 3-1.
3-1 Leicester win. So a second win on the bounce for Leicester is Paul's prediction. 3 o'clock Saturday, Chelsea versus Wolves. Get on the draw, the last 3 meetings. were. Right then, Wolves have won just one of their last 15 Premier League games. Looks like Lopetegui is going to be in charge in the next 48 hours. Probably not for this game. What's got wrong with Wolves?
Everything that was right last year has gone wrong for them this year. They're conceding far too many goals, not scoring goals, like the sign of Diego Costa. And I think, every manager has a lifespan. And I think the Wolves board saw them, not the results, but the way that they were playing. It's not really clicked for them this year. And I think they thought a change was in the offering. Lopetegui, obviously sacked by Seville in the week, opens the door for Wolves to go and take him. Perfect timing for them. Whether that'll work or not, we don't know, but their recruitment has been good. They've only won 1 of 8 this year, so you can understand why that's happened. I think this is going to be a big task from going to Stamford Bridge, I really do. I think Chelsea is starting to look different under Potter, and I think this will be a really, really big ask for a Wolves team that's shot in confidence, in all honesty. I think it's a big ask.
Score?
Oh, listen. Chelsea had a narrow win against Palace. Beat AC
Palace
Milan.
A good team, though.
Very good team. Beat AC Milan 3-0 in the Champions League. They're only 4 points behind Tottenham, looking at my notes here. They're not in full flow, but they're a lot better. I'm going to have a real outside bet. I think Chelsea will win this comfortably, but I think Diego Costa might come back to get them. I'm going to go Chelsea to win, but Costa to score.
And what score?
I've gone 4-1 Chelsea.
4-1 Chelsea. Diego Costa is 3-1 to score any time, of course, for former Chelsea man. Scored 30 goals and assisted 9 more in 45 Premier League appearances at Stamford Bridge when he played for Chelsea. Right, so that is Chelsea Wolves. Sticking with the 3 o'clock kickoffs, Man City Southampton. We did a special offer last week on Haaland to score a hat-trick. It was 10-1. It's 6-1 to score a hat-trick this week. 3 on the bounce at home. No player had done that before. Looking to make it 4 on the bounce. 14 in 8 Premier League appearances. 19 in 12 now in all competitions. We spoke about him. How good is he? Look, he is this sort of monster. He's a goal-scoring freak.
Yeah, I think he could well be the best we've seen in the Premier League. You look at the greats we've had over the years in this league. We've had some of the best, if not the best players in the world. And he's certainly staken a very, very early claim to put himself up there. Longevity is the only thing that's missing. You look at him now, he's up there. His stats are up there. His numbers are up there. His playing style is up there. If he does this over a long period of time, it's going to be frightening.
You must have played with his dad. I bet you wish his dad could have scored goals.
I play golf with his dad now. His dad's
he must be so proud.
He is very, very proud. And he's very humble, but very proud. He knows how good he is. But I think his dad was a hard tackling midfielder rather than a goal scorer. Completely different players. One's certainly better than the other.
And who wins at golf between you two?
It depends. It depends whether I'm playing with him or against him.
Right, come on then, give us a prediction for Man City Southampton.
Listen, the only case you can make for Southampton, in all honesty, is last season they drew 0-0, but it's against a different Manchester City side. I'm looking at the stats from Manchester City. 4 of 5, lost 11 at City. 2 they've won at City in 45 Premier League games. There's hardly any case. This one is just a case of if, when and how many. I mean, you can't stop City. I've gone for City over 5.5 goals. You've got to pick a scoreline. Pick a scorer, pick a scoreline. I've gone 6-0. I think you get decent odds.
And how many does Haaland get?
Go over 5 and you'll get decent odds. Pick a good route for City, 6 and Haaland at least 2.
Right, staying with the 3 o'clock kickoffs. Newcastle versus Brentford. Newcastle's 4-1 win at Fulham was the first in 7 games. Callum Wilson, even money to score any time. He's scored 5 in his last 5 Premier League games. How do you see this, Newcastle or Brentford?
I think it'll be close. Brentford's problem at the moment is scoring goals. They haven't scored in the last 2. 0-0 last time out against Bournemouth. They've had 1 clean sheet in 19 away. So not scoring and 1 clean sheet in 19 away is not a good combination. So, last time that they kept 2 clean sheets away in the top flight was 1937. So the likelihood of Brentford keeping a clean sheet is very slim. So Newcastle will definitely score in this. They've only lost 1 of 14 in St James's. So I think, they're obviously strong favourites at home. With Brentford's goal-scoring problems, I see Newcastle winning this to 0.
Score?
I've put Newcastle to win 2-0 in bold letters, but 2-0.
2-0 Newcastle, Brentford. Right, Brighton Spurs, Saturday at 5:30. Of course, Brighton going very well in their 4th place in the league. And Trossard got a hat-trick Last weekend against Liverpool, he was 12-1 to score first because he scored first and got the hat-trick. Double Light and hat-trick, Evan. You got paid out a huge 36-1 for Trossard. Right then. I thought last weekend when it got to 3-2, that was Brighton's chance gone. This Brighton team is decent, isn't it?
You've got to give the owner credit again for a new manager, De Zerbi. You know, somebody who we've heard a little about. He's come in and you wondered how he was going to change it, what he was going to do. You looked at the way they played against Liverpool. I mean, they were 2-0 within 30 minutes, weren't they? They looked strong. They looked good. I was indifferent as to the managerial appointment, but this Brighton team are good without having any stars. You know, the old saying, the star is the team, but it really is with them. They've got no outstanding out-and-out goal scorer. They've got no top players, but I think they've got a really, really good, strong squad. And I think they'll cause Spurs problems, I really do, especially down on the south coast.
Brighton have won 2 of the last 3 Premier League matches against Spurs. Trossard, I mentioned him, 5 in 7. First goal, 11-2, 9-4, any time. What about Harry Kane? Kane has scored 5 in his last 7 Premier League games against Brighton. He's a 100-30 to get the first goal, 5-4 to score any time. Right, where are Spurs at then?
Well, we as English football fans and English ex-players and pundits, we don't enjoy the art of defence. You know, we don't watch a football match and say that was a fantastic defensive display, do we? No. None of us do. We don't enjoy it. And I think that's where, from Spurs fans' point of view, is the one hole you'd pick in Conte's setup, if you like. The way they played last week against Arsenal, set up for a defensive masterclass. It was just ugly to watch. They didn't offer anything. But I think the art of defence is not appreciated in this country. I think Spurs, after a good start, after promise, they've only won 1-4 in all competitions. So this is a big game for them. They can't afford this run to go on very long. The last 3 games against Brighton, they've lost 2 of them. So they're a team that they find difficult to play against. This is not a must-win, but they have to get something, Spurs. I think they're in a place where they either push on or stay where they are. I think I looked at the team sheet of the weekend. Richarlison was in the side, Son was in the side, Kane was in the side, a little bit of bite, a bit of niggle in there. And it wasn't there. They didn't have that. They've got to get back to winning ways. But as I say, I think this is a difficult game for them. I think, in all honesty, with Richarlison coming in and Son coming back in the side, I didn't think I'd say this, but I think they've missed the creativity of Kulusevski as well. I think he's been a miss for them.
Scoreline?
I don't ever like backing against Spurs. I'm not going to back against Spurs. I've got both teams to score in a 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw in the 5:30 game on Saturday night. Right, that's the Premier League looked at on Saturday. Big weekend in the Championship. Matt Hughes is back to talk us through the fixtures.
Arguably the most competitive league in the world is the Championship. It's proven to be just that once again. Another great 12 games to look forward to this weekend. We start on Friday night live on Sky's QPR taking on Reading. It's 3rd versus 4th in the Championship. QPR favourites for that one. Birmingham slight favourites. They welcome Bristol City. Birmingham surprising a few this season, including that point at Bramall Lane last time out. Blackburn 5-6 at home to Rotherham, looking to bounce back from midweek defeat. Jean Dahl Thomason's men. Watford, Slaven Bilic in the hot seat now. Not sure how long for. He's there 11-10 as they head to Blackpool. They're at 2-1. It's a rare home game for Coventry as well at the CBS Arena. Hopefully their pitch issues are now a thing of the past. Burnley and Vincent Kompany are the visitors, and they are favourites for that one. And then down at the New Den, it's a pick-em game. We can't choose between Millwall and Middlesbrough. No Chris Wilder, of course, in the dugout for Middlesbrough now. But they are 6-4 to get much-needed points at Millwall this weekend. Norwich, everyone's favourites to go up at the beginning of the season. They're just starting to come good now. They're 8-13 as they welcome Shotshire Preston. Stoke, disappointed so far this season. Again, a managerial change there. They are 15-8 as the Blades are the visitors after that defeat at midweek. Just 1 point from the last 2 games for the Blades after starting so well. They are 6-5. Sunderland are the visitors down to Wales as they head to Swansea. Swansea favourites to that 5-4. Sunderland desperately need back the likes of Ross Stewart and Ellie Sims. No goals in their last couple of games. The Baggies, West Brom 8-11. Steve Bruce under pressure. 2 defeats in their last 2 home games. Welcome Luton have been scoring for fun just lately. West Brom are odds on for that one. And then Wigan host Cardiff. 5-4 Wigan to win that home game. Cardiff, big win for them in midweek. And then on Sunday, it's a high noon kickoff as Huddersfield take on Hull. Huddersfield, slight favourites there, 11-8 in that match of 2 massively struggling sides at the foot of the Championship. It is so competitive. Anyone beats anyone on their day in the second tier in England.
Yeah, good luck. Punter's nightmare at times for Championship. Right then, QPR Reading tonight.
Never mind punter's nightmare, player's nightmare. Played in that league. It's a tough, tough league. And like Matt says there, anyone can beat anyone. You know, you look at you put your Accas in, you put your spread bets in, and then you look at it at the end of the day and just think, and you got like 3 out of 10. You think, how's that happened? But that's the Championship. It's a great league. QPR Reading, 2 teams that we didn't expect to be in the playoffs. You look where they are now. I mean, both managers have done extremely well. Reading taking a point off Norwich midweek. QPR beating Sheffield United, top of the league. We know Sheffield United is still top, but it was a great win for QPR. Goals have dried up of late for QPR, but they've only conceded 1 in 4. Reading, 6 points in 5 games and only 2 goals. So you suspect maybe a low-scoring game. Andy Carroll is the big question for Reading. He's come in, he's started 2 games this week, and at his age and where he's at, will he start again? It'll be a very, very closely fought game, but I think QPR could nick this one with home advantage.
Right, that is live tonight. Let's go back to Premier League. 2 o'clock Sunday, West Ham versus Fulham. And I tell you what, when we're recording this, some breaking news. Nottingham Forest head coach Steve Cooper signs new contract until 2025.
Well, there's a show of confidence if you ever need one as a manager. Said to you a million times before, the greatest gift you can give a manager is time. And I mean, I don't think we've ever seen a club on such a bad run of form and results give a manager a new contract. But that is fantastic for the manager, and for the club it shows stability.
Well, he got them up, and obviously they were the bottom of the Championship when he took over.
Where he took over, they were in the bottom 3 and he got them promoted, which is incredible. They've taken a big risk this year. They've signed 22 players, which is a big kind of blow to the players that brought them up.
And a lot of dough.
He's gone, you're not good enough, I need a new set of players in. For him to get time and to get those players to gel, listen, it's not working at the moment. They're really, really poor. So for them to give the manager a new contract, it's a huge vote of confidence for him. It settles everybody down at the club. There's no kind of talk about his job in the future, and he's allowed to get on with his job. But I mean, if they continue the way they are, I think we'll get to Christmas and people will be going, well, new contract or no new contract, is his job in doubt? But maybe, listen, they might be looking at him, if they go down to the Championship, so be it. He's the right man to get us out of it. And if they have a long-term plan, then you have to give the club credit for doing that. For me, I think they've moved a bit too early on that one.
Well, he's in action on Monday night. We'll talk about that in a moment. Right, West Ham Fulham.
Tight game. West Ham won in the week against Anderlecht last night, actually. Decent win against Wolves. Before that, an indifferent season. I think the key for me with West Ham is Scamacca and Antonio. I think Scamacca has to play. Antonio's not got the goals this year. He's not played as well as he can. Scamacca comes into the team. Every time he comes in, he seems to do well, gets a goal. Maxwell Cornet as well. Played well in Europe. Not really had a look in the Premier League. For me, Moyes has to be brave, make big calls, play Scamacca, Cornet, play a different way. Fulham, great comeback at Forest. You think, decent side. Mitrovic, top player, with Dan James going in there as well. And then they lose last time out against Newcastle to get thrashed 4-1 at home. So you just don't know which Fulham are going to turn up. It's going to be a close game. It's going to be a tough one to go, West Ham. And I think with home advantage, I've got West Ham to win this one.
What score?
West Ham 2-1 and Scamacca on the score sheet.
Right, the live game at 2 o'clock is your old club. Leeds going to Palace. Crystal Palace just lost 2 of their last 10 Premier League home games. How do you see it?
But they're on a 4-game winless run. Play well. Edson Odward, been fantastic for them. Selhurst Park's always a difficult place to go. I mean, as a player, the fans there make it difficult. It's an old ground, it's tight, the changing rooms are not great. And, this has been a regular fixture when Leeds and Palace have been in the Championship. They played each other a lot. It's a different Leeds side. Patrick Bamford's going to be fit with the suspension of Siniesta, who got suspended at the weekend, got sent off. I think Rodrigo will drop back in. Bamford will come in up front. I think it'll be a really tough ask for Leeds to go there. As you say, Palace are a team that are playing well. They've got an identity. Regardless of personnel, they've got a way of playing. They're really tough to break down. They don't concede many goals. And the one thing with Palace, even if they lose, they're always in games. And it'd be a big ask for Leeds.
What score?
I've gone a draw. I think it'd be a score draw. I think Leeds have got enough with Adams and Rocker to sit in front and protect that back four. Score draw, 1-1.
Leeds not won at Selhurst Park in the last 6, so 1-1 for Paul Robinson. Right, we've spoken about the 4:30 game already, of course, which is Arsenal versus Liverpool. We've got a rare Sunday night football as well. It's because Manchester United in action in the Europa League. Manchester United used to have a very good record against Everton. Not of late. Manchester United just won one of their last 7 Premier League matches against Everton. It was 1-0 at Goodison Park last term. How do you see this? Obviously, Manchester United were taught a footballing lesson last Sunday, weren't they, in the Manchester derby?
Yeah, they were, and I think the thing you can look at, everyone say, oh, but they scored 3, they only lost by 3. Yeah, but they conceded 6. Anybody can concede 6 against Manchester City. Manchester City is streaks ahead of a lot of teams. Listen, there's a lot of teams that will go there this season and will do exactly the same. But it's obviously disappointing for them. I watched them in Europe last night with a strong team, and I thought they underperformed. I thought they were poor. But I do think they've made progress under Ten Hag. I think the signings that he's got, Ronaldo's becoming a problem. I think it's becoming a bit of a sideshow in all honesty. I think that has to be sorted out sooner rather than later, one way or another. I personally think he should have gone in the summer, and I don't think that sideshow would be there. I think against big teams, Eriksen and Fernandes can't play together. The protection that if he's playing a midfield 3 against the so-called bigger teams, those two can't play together because of the defensive qualities. But I do think there's progression there. And Marcus Rashford again last night, I thought it was outstanding. Yeah. Scored 2, got an assist. And for me,
great to see.
I think he has to be in the England squad, Mark. I really do. I think he gives you something else. Yep. He didn't give Ivan Toney a chance in the last 2 games. If Harry Kane's not fit, who plays? Tammy Abraham, okay, can come in.
Well, it's going to be Marcus Rashford.
But nobody's tried and tested. Marcus Rashford can play as a 9 in place of Harry Kane, but he can also occupy any of the positions in behind him. And the way he's playing, he looks like he's got his hunger, his bite, his love for the game back. And last night, he looked sharp again. So for me, he's got to be seriously considered. He's got to be in the squad, in my opinion. But I think United, back to United, I think they'll struggle at Everton. They've not had a good record there of late. Everton have got the best defensive record in the Premier League. They've only conceded 7 in 8, which is going to be huge for them going forward. The progression that they're showing, they weren't at the best last week, but they've still beat Southampton. They're showing real progression very, very slowly under Frank. I like what he's doing there at the moment.
Prediction, Simon?
I've gone Everton to win 2-0.
What score?
2-0 Everton.
2-0 Everton.
Yeah, I think it'll be a tough afternoon, even for United.
Right, we are running out of time, but Monday night, we've already mentioned it, Steve Cooper has signed a new contract until 2025 at Nottingham Forest. Can he get a home win on Monday night against Aston Villa?
Villa have struggled as well this year, and I think people forget about Villa is that they struggled at the end of last season. You look at where they finished, and I think they got away with it a little bit because when Stephen came in, they did so well, fortunes turned, and they went up the league, whereas actually when they slipped away from form at the end of last year, they really struggled. And they haven't picked up from there this year, and they've spent a lot of money as well. They've got 8 points from 8 games. For me, a little bit negative. But on the flip side of that, Forest have got 5 straight defeats. 1 win, 1 draw in 8 games. I thoroughly expected this to be sat here talking about the manager's future, the amount of goals they've conceded. I did the research. They've conceded 18 in 5 games. I mean, they've only scored 4 in 5. So for me, you look at this game, there's 2 teams that aren't in a great vein of form. There's not a lot of confidence. I think your bet in this one is a low-scoring game. I'm going under 2.5 goals in this game.
And what score?
Draw. It's not going to be a great one. I think Forest might take an early lead, get a bit nervy, and Villa grab one late. I've gone for a nervy 1-1 draw.
Nervy 1-1 draw. Right, we'll recap Paul's selections in a minute. But my favourite bet is still when both teams score, it's goals galore. You're not trying to pick the result. You just want both teams to score. And Matt Humes has got a selection for you.
When both teams score, it's goals galore. And having a look at our goals galore bonus coupon this weekend. 5 games, and we pay 16-1 if all teams score. And the beauty of this bet is you're in it until the 90th minute. I've started with a big one on Super Sunday. Arsenal taking on Liverpool. Arsenal's win on Thursday night made it 9 wins in their last 10. And 4 times these sides have met in the last 6 at the Emirates. Both teams have found the net. Newcastle taking on Brentford. They shared 6 goals at St James's Park last season with Callum Wilson and Ivan Toney in their respective ranks. They're always good for goals. West Brom take on Luton. West Brom been the wrong end of 2 5-goal thrillers in their last 2 home games. Luton have scored 9 in their last 4 games. That one looks good for the coupon at the Hawthorns. Barnsley take on Exeter as well. 8 goals Barnes have scored in their last 4. 8 goals Exeter have scored in their last 3. They are both scoring for fun, so that one goes in as well at Oakwell. And Peterborough taking on Burton. Peterborough long odds on for this one, but Burton, 6 away games this season. They've been involved in 26 goals. That one is also a must. 10 teams then, 5 games. If they all score, we get paid out at a huge 16-1.
Yes, you don't need home wins, draws, away wins. You just need both teams to score with goals galore. Right, I'm just going to recap very quickly Paul's selections. He has gone for a 3-1 win to Leicester Then he's gone Chelsea 4, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1. Man City 6, Southampton 0. Newcastle 2, Brentford 0. Brighton 2, Spurs 2. Palace 1, Leeds 1. West Ham 2, Fulham 1. Arsenal 2-1 in the big game against Liverpool. Everton 2-0 in that Sunday night kickoff. And then on Monday night, 1-1. And Steve Cooper is extending his contract until 2025. So the big game of the weekend is definitely Arsenal versus Liverpool. And you think the Gunners have got enough to get the home win?
I do, as much as it pains me to say. From my old team's point of view, I've actually, and from a complete neutral point of view, been really impressed with what Arteta's done. Signings, the way that they play. Jesus has been outstanding. I mean, he's a top class player, and he's still got something to prove. Saw what he did at Manchester City. He's now the main man. He's pressing from the front. The whole team trigger when he presses, and I just like the way that they play. I don't really, but I do.
Cheers, Paul. Thanks for coming in. And look, if you're having a bet this weekend, please keep it fun and gamble responsibly. See you next week.